EMP Series, Day 161. Carl Fairley woke up in his own bed. It was 4:30 a.m. He got back late last night. He got up and had a quick breakfast and rode with Zeb into town. Zeb went directly to the post to pick up the outgoing messages for delivery. Carl stopped at the diner, picked up a large coffee, and walked over to his office. As he settled in at his desk, he glanced at his watch. It was now 5:40. He sat at his desk watching the traffic on the street. At that hour, it amounted to little more than a few people coming and going at the diner and the guard change at the trading post. Major Stillman himself rarely got to his office before 6:30. Buddy Tanner's man, Lee, watched the post and the platform from the ridge where he was concealed behind the tree line. He focused the scope of the .30-06 on Carl sitting at his desk. He scribbled an entry into his notebook. He looked over toward the post and saw Hammer walking through the door. When Hammer saw the clerk, he asked for a bag of tobacco and some rolling papers. He set a bag of beef jerky on the counter, placed a small piece of silver next to it. As he walked out, the clerk asked, kind of as an afterthought, "Hey, pal, any luck finding your brother?" Hammer stopped and told the clerk that he hadn't been able to locate him yet, but he wasn't giving up hope. The clerk told Hammer that it occurred to him after they spoke the other day that the girl he saw his brother talking to was from the Baptist church out of town to the north. Hammer walked back over to the counter and asked him, "Are you certain about this?" He assured him that he was. "Surprised I didn't remember it when we spoke. But she hasn't been around much in the past few years since she got married. But it was her, all right. She's the pastor's daughter. Went to school with my son." "Where exactly is that church?" Hammer asked. "I'd like to go check it out." The clerk gave him directions and then told him that Carl Fairley, the region's constable, was a member there. And maybe he has seen him there. "I think he's in his office right next door," he informed Hammer. "No, I wouldn't want to bother him with my personal stuff. I'm sure he's very busy. I'll go check it out for myself. Thanks, pal. I owe you." The clerk smiled as he nodded. "Good luck," he said. Hammer walked out. Carl Fairley glanced at his watch again. He got up and went into the supply closet and closed the door. He checked the picture to make sure that the paper clip was still intact. He opened the safe and pulled out the ham radio. "Echo 12, Echo 12, he repeated twice. After a few seconds, the response came. "Echo 12, copy, Echo 59. Carl came back. "Request transfer to Delta 1. The two men made the necessary frequency adjustment off the spreadsheet that they both shared. "Contact made, package en route," Carl informed the man in the sub-basement, underneath the basement in the abandoned bike shop in northeastern Virginia. Retired Army Captain Edwin Nunez replied, "Roger that, Echo 59. "There's one more thing, 59. "Go ahead," said Carl. "The man you met in the mountains has a partner," announced Nunez. "Roger that. I met him briefly," Carl interjected. "Well, this is probably nothing. He's been squeaky clean, but he served previously with the subject. I don't think they're in contact. He does know that he's there. He reported a 509 on him, Nunez told Carl. A 509 was a form that any team member was required to fill out when they learned about the presence of any subject that the team member has had prior contact with or knowledge of. This was done to head off any possible conflicts or cover breaches. It also kept the team honest. If they failed for any reason to file a 509 and it came out later that they knew about the subject, there could be no reconciliation of the fact that they failed to report it. So the fact that Leonard filed a 509 on Major Snillman was a clear indicator that they were not working together covertly now. Still, though, to be on the safe side, we're going to pull the team member and reassign him, Nunez informed Carl. This was standard operating procedure and fully accepted by all involved. Roger that, was Carl's response. Also, 59, be advised that we intend to add a player. The subject has a subordinate who's working closely with him. We've wanted to get another man in close to the subject, someone on the inside. We've been watching this potential new member for a while now. He has almost been completely vetted, and we continue to watch him regularly. Our contact in Army CID passed along information that this individual has recently filed 2 complaints against the subject. Because of everything going on now, we're fast-tracking his recruitment. If the vetting completes successfully, which we believe it will at this point, expect this new member to be in place within a few weeks. Carl suspected that this new recruit was Lieutenant Saunders. It was no secret that he and the Major disagreed on how to conduct their mission in the region. Carl knew for a fact that Saunders had filed at least one formal complaint against the Major very recently. Roger, was all he said to Nunez. He knew the protocols would not allow either Carl or Saunders to know the identity of the other. Carl, almost certain it was Saunders, was comforted to know this fact. He liked and trusted Saunders, and having him on his team pleased him. Carl asked for the next check-in for Tuesday at noon, which of course did not mean Tuesday or noon. They signed off. Carl put the radio back in the safe and placed the picture with the paperclip arranged gingerly behind it back on the wall. He stepped back into his office and closed the closet door behind him. As Little Bear was securing his spot on the railroad work crew, Hammer was cautiously making his way in circles up toward where Lee was positioned. When he got there, Buddy Tanner was there as well. He told them about what the clerk remembered about Roger talking to Jillian on the platform. Buddy told Lee to hold his position, and that Hammer and Little Bear would go find the church and check things out. Hammer smiled slightly, pleased that he would not have to work on the rail crew. He and Buddy hiked along the tracks up the valley. They had the clerk's directions to the church, were certain they could hike there by the next morning. The rail crew was 3 men short today. The Barnes brothers didn't show up for work. This was nothing new, and the foreman was very angry. He went to the tent where the brothers lived and barged in full steam. It was empty. They and all their gear were gone. Well, thought the foreman, no loss there. They were lazy malcontents anyway. He was happy to finally be rid of them for good. They were having coffee with Tyler Hobbs and Jimmy Abbott in their camp out by the dam. They were part of the Citizens of Liberty now. To the Barnes brothers, It seemed a better gig than working for the railroad. They broke camp and started the long hike up the mountain to the Hobbs homestead. Tyler was briefing them along the way on his plan to take the farm back from Buddy Tanner and his men. They were about halfway up the hill when they saw Les and one other man walking down the driveway. They had been walking in the woods adjacent to the driveway when they saw Tyler, Jimmy, and the Barnes brothers, and came out onto the driveway. They explained to Tyler that the four men had vacated early this morning, that they managed to free themselves and started walking down to find him. Tyler asked about the others, and Les told him that they were okay back at the house. They had dug up the cache of gear and guns in back of the barn. They posted a guard in the woods a ways down the driveway. Les told them that he overheard Buddy and his men talking. I couldn't make out everything they said, Les informed Tyler, but they are definitely here for a specific purpose and decided to just move forward with their plans and forget about us. From the sound of it, I don't believe they'll be coming back. Tyler did not want to rely on that. He ordered Les to put all available men in the woods on security. Cover every choke point, he told Les. I don't want anyone getting within 2 miles without us knowing about it. Put the farm on lockdown. Anybody goes outside for anything, they need to be in pairs. They had ample food and supplies to shelter in place for weeks. Tyler also had a plan to reestablish contact with Major Stillman. Les was the only other member that knew about the Major's involvement with the group. 3 members in all had known, but the third was killed by Buddy Tanner the night they took the farm. Tyler also told his men to be careful what they said in front of the Barnes brothers. He had hastily recruited them in his desperation to build his force to retake the farm. They had not yet proven themselves, and Tyler didn't fully trust them. Even Jimmy Abbott, who brought them in, didn't really know them well. He went to school with Joey Barnes, the oldest, but they were never really good friends. More like casual acquaintances. He didn't know his brothers at all. Still, they were here now, and Tyler did need the extra manpower. He just wanted to limit the info that they had on what the group had done and what their mission was going forward. To Tyler, they were just hired guns. Since they were not familiar with the woods and the trails surrounding the farm, he decided to keep them close, use them for house security and chores. This way he can keep an eye on them as well. Buddy Tanner knew that the constable was a member of the church, that the woman who was seen talking to Roger attended. He told Hammer that he wanted him and Little Bear to check the church out, to do a little advance recon. He reminded them that Carl Fairley was a member there and for them to be cautious of him. He and Les would remain camped outside town and wait for them to report back. If you see R, do not attempt to take him until you get us. You're going for recon only, is that clear? Little Bear spoke up. Oh, what if we happen to spot him off alone and get a chance for a clean kill and get away? Hammer added, getting in and out without causing a stir could be problematic. If we get a clean kill opportunity, we should take it, Buddy. Buddy reinforced his original order. No, he said. We proceed slowly and cautiously. We came this far, and I know what Roger's capable of. There is no easy, clean kill opportunity when it comes to him. Trust me on this. Besides, I want to be there, to see the life drained from his eyes. I trusted him with everything, with my own life. For him to betray that trust, it's very personal now. Little Bear looked at Hammer, who simply said, 10-4, Chief, recon only. We move out at dark. They were equipped with the PVS-30 night vision scopes, the latest in military-grade night vision tech. It allowed them to see everything for hundreds of yards in the darkest scenarios. It made sense for them to travel under the cover of darkness at night and to find a place to rest during the day. They were confident that if they didn't run into any problems or delays, that they could reach the church by the next morning. They planned to find a place near the church to get a few hours of sleep in the morning and be on site before noon. Back at the Patel homestead, Shima and Hira were excited about the upcoming wedding. Shima dug her wedding dress out of the attic and Hira tried it on. Shima assured her that with a few minor alterations, it would be perfect for her. She thanked her and promised to return it unharmed after the ceremony. No, my dear, I want you to keep it. You have been like a daughter to me, and perhaps someday you will pass it on to your daughter at the time of her wedding. Hira started to cry. She embraced Shima, who had tears welling up in her eyes as well. I love you, she said. I love you too, my child, Shima told Hira. Ish, Pastor Sharps, and Dalton were still outside at the truck. Ish told the two that he wanted to show them something. It's about an hour-long horse ride, he told them. He saddled 3 horses and told Shima that they would be camping out for the night, and asked her to send someone to notify Pastor's people that they would not be home until tomorrow. They loaded sleeping bags and some supplies for the trip and headed out toward the woods. They arrived an hour later at an old cottage, a small home and a little clearing at the end of the overgrown dirt driveway. They dismounted and went inside. It was dusty and run down. It had cobwebs everywhere. Ish went over to the stone fireplace, put his hand on the wooden mantel. He then turned, slowly scanning the interior of the small home. He smiled and told Dalton and Pastor that he and Shima had lived there when they first purchased the property. He said that when they first arrived here, the house needed extensive renovations, and they lived here during that period. We were younger and very naive then, he said, but we were very happy here during that time. We made a lot of good memories here, son, he told Dalton. I have seen how happy you make Hira, and it pleases me greatly. She has been like a daughter to Shima and I. I want you two to have this home and the land that it sits on. I know someday, if the Lord blesses you with children, that you will quickly outgrow this house, but you could add on to it or move on to a bigger place. I think it would be a great place for the two of you to begin your lives together. It needs a little cleaning out and some minor repairs, but nothing we cannot do together. Dalton looked at Ish and then at Pastor Sharps. Both men were smiling. He took Ish's hand and thanked him. How can I ever repay you? He asked Ish. Ish smiled back and just said, all you have to do, young man, is please God with the way that you treat your new wife. Love her and continue to love and worship the Lord. If you can do those things, then you do not owe me anything. I know that as your wife, Hira will follow you, that she will attend church with you. It saddens us to lose her from our church family, but it pleases me to know that she will always be a part of my family, and so now will you be as well. You, her, and hopefully a large home full of children that the Lord will bless you with. Come on now, let's set up camp. I'm growing hungry." That evening, as they ate and sat around the campfire, Dalton gave thanks to God for Hira, and for Ish, and for Pastor Sharps as well. And he thanked God for blessing him with these wonderful people.